Imagine waking up, and every grocery shelf is completely empty. Overnight, America's entire food supply suddenly stops moving. Nobody knows why, but deliveries never arrive that morning. Most people believe it's only another temporary shipping delay. They calmly grab shopping carts and begin their usual routine. Everything still feels completely normal, at least for now. Then someone notices the milk refrigerator is almost empty. Minutes later, bread completely disappears from every shelf. News spreads quickly through every aisle inside the store. Shopping carts suddenly begin filling much faster than before. Rice, pasta, canned food, anything people can still find. Employees try restocking shelves, but warehouses are already empty. Checkout lines stretch farther than anyone has ever seen. Outside, parking lots become crowded with nervous families. Before sunset, millions realize this crisis is only beginning. By the second day, panic quietly spreads across the entire country. Every new customer discovers fewer supplies than the one before. Parents stop shopping normally and start shopping for survival. Frozen food disappears almost as quickly as fresh produce. Employees answer the same question hundreds of times every hour. Nobody can explain when the next delivery will finally arrive. Social media fills with photos of empty stores across America. Millions begin driving farther, hoping another store still has food. But every destination tells exactly the same frightening story. Small towns lose supplies even faster than major cities. Food banks become overwhelmed before the week has even ended. Restaurants quietly remove menu items they can no longer replace. School cafeterias begin serving smaller meals to every student. Hospitals carefully ration food while protecting their most vulnerable patients. And America slowly realizes this isn't ending anytime soon. By the third morning, grocery stores open with almost nothing left. Hundreds of people line up before the doors even unlock. Some have waited for hours, hoping today's truck finally arrives. But once again, the loading docks remain completely empty. Store employees quietly prepare for another day without supplies. Customers rush inside, searching every aisle for anything left behind. Most leave carrying far less than they desperately needed. Families begin rationing every meal, one bite at a time. Parents quietly skip meals so their children can still eat. Across America, anxiety slowly replaces everyday routines. Grocery stores now resemble empty buildings more than busy markets. Even stores limiting purchases have nothing left to protect. America's food system begins breaking apart faster than anyone predicted. And this crisis has only lasted 3 terrifying days. The worst part hasn't even begun yet. By the end of the first week, panic becomes the new normal. Families stop buying groceries because there is nothing left to buy. Every remaining meal suddenly becomes something worth protecting. Parents begin counting every can, every bottle, every single meal. Refrigerators once filled with food now sit almost completely empty. Children quietly ask when the grocery stores will finally reopen. Even families with savings discover money can no longer solve anything. Because without food, even wealth quickly loses its true value. Meanwhile, food banks begin running out of supplies themselves. Volunteers apologize because they simply have nothing left to give. Across America, hope slowly turns into quiet desperation. Neighborhoods begin sharing food with friends and complete strangers. Some communities grow stronger, while others slowly begin falling apart. But every passing day makes surviving just a little more difficult. And then, the first real shortages reach America's hospitals. Hospitals begin rationing food to protect their most critical patients. Doctors save lives, while wondering how they'll feed everyone tomorrow. Nursing homes face impossible choices as supplies continue disappearing. School cafeterias can no longer provide enough meals for every child. For many children, school was their only reliable source of food. Grocery workers stop coming because the shelves are already empty. Delivery drivers have nowhere left to deliver fresh supplies. Farmers still harvest crops, but transportation begins collapsing nationwide. Perfectly good food starts spoiling before reaching nearby cities. The problem isn't growing food, it's getting food to millions. Every broken link pushes America's food system closer to collapse. Supermarket parking lots become strangely quiet for the first time. People stop searching because they already know nothing remains. The nation slowly accepts this crisis will not disappear overnight, and America has survived only 1 week without food. By the second week, America no longer feels like the same country. Every conversation now begins with exactly the same desperate question. Do you have anything left that your family can still eat? Empty refrigerators become a painful reminder of the growing crisis. Every remaining meal suddenly becomes more valuable than money itself. Some stores close forever because there is simply nothing left to sell. Police begin protecting food warehouses instead of ordinary businesses. Food trucks now travel under constant security across the country. Every successful delivery feels like a race against time. Long lines form hours before emergency food distribution even begins. Some families leave with food, while others leave completely empty-handed. Hope slowly disappears as supplies become harder to replace every day. Across America, survival becomes everyone's only daily priority. And still, no new food enters the country's supply chain. Week 2 has only begun, and the hardest days are still ahead. By week 3, survival replaces comfort across the entire nation. Families carefully divide every meal into smaller daily portions. Every unopened can suddenly feels more valuable than ever before. Supermarkets become empty buildings with nothing left inside. Thousands of businesses close because customers stop spending money. Restaurant kitchens grow silent after running out of every ingredient. Food deliveries disappear, and fuel becomes harder to find each day. Delivery trucks remain parked because both food and fuel are disappearing. Hospitals now struggle to feed both patients and exhausted medical staff. Emergency shelters become overcrowded as more families seek basic necessities. Community gardens suddenly become one of America's most valuable resources. Every harvest disappears within hours of becoming available. Local governments struggle to control growing shortages across every community. The country is no longer waiting for recovery, only trying to survive. And America still has another week before this nightmare finally ends. By the 21st day, America feels completely transformed. Grocery stores now stand completely empty across the entire country. Most families survive only by carefully rationing every remaining meal. Home gardens suddenly become more valuable than neighborhood supermarkets. Communities begin working together because survival depends on cooperation. Those who prepared early now quietly help those who never could. But supplies continue shrinking with every passing single day. Every meal becomes another difficult decision for struggling families. America slowly learns how fragile modern life truly has become. Food was never just convenience. It was national security. Every supermarket depended on thousands of invisible daily deliveries. Remove that system, and everything begins falling apart surprisingly fast. Civilization often survives because supply chains quietly keep moving every day. Without them, even the strongest nations become incredibly vulnerable. And America still faces one final week before recovery can even begin. Day 22 begins. But relief still feels painfully far away. Every family wakes up wondering how much food still remains. Then, something changes. The first delivery trucks finally return. They carry only limited supplies. But hope quietly returns. Grocery stores reopen. But strict rationing remains everywhere. Every customer receives only enough food for a few days. Long lines continue. But people finally see food arriving again. Yet, rebuilding America's food system could still take many months. Empty shelves disappear slowly, one delivery at a time. But millions of lives have already changed forever. America would never forget the month food completely disappeared. Because every civilization depends on something surprisingly simple. Not money, not technology, but reliable access to everyday food. Lose that system, and everything else begins falling apart. So tell us, how many days could your family realistically survive? But empty grocery stores were only the beginning of the crisis. America's entire food network was beginning to fail behind the scenes. Thousands of refrigerated warehouses sat almost completely empty. Processing plants shut down because raw ingredients never arrived. Bakeries struggled after flour deliveries suddenly stopped nationwide. Dairy farms dumped fresh milk they could no longer transport. Fresh vegetables spoiled before they could ever reach supermarkets. Farmers kept producing food, but nobody could move it fast enough. America's highways carried fewer trucks with every passing single day. Rail yards also slowed as food shipments rapidly disappeared. Even major ports received fewer containers filled with essential food. One broken supply chain quietly weakened thousands of connected businesses. The food crisis had quietly become an economic crisis as well. And the country's biggest challenges were still waiting ahead. Because next, even clean drinking water would become a serious concern. Without food deliveries, even clean drinking water becomes difficult to protect. Water plants still operate, but workers struggle to stay supplied. Grocery stores quickly run out of bottled water nationwide. Families begin storing every drop they can safely collect. Hospitals now ration food and clean water at the same time. Pharmacies also begin running dangerously low on essential medicines. Delivery delays affect far more than just grocery stores. Diabetic patients struggle to replace life-saving insulin supplies. Every delayed shipment now puts thousands of lives at risk. Emergency services begin prioritizing only the most critical situations. Police officers now spend more time protecting food than fighting crime. National Guard units help deliver supplies into struggling communities. America slowly shifts from convenience to simple survival. But another invisible crisis is already beginning to spread. Hunger was only the first challenge. Disease could become the next. By the fourth week, America's economy begins slowing to a dangerous crawl. Restaurants, hotels, and thousands of businesses shut their doors. Millions of workers suddenly lose the jobs they depended on. Without income, families stop spending on everything except survival. Banks remain open, but confidence begins quietly disappearing. Cash still has value, but food becomes the true currency. Communities begin trading supplies instead of simply buying them. Local farmers become some of America's most valuable people overnight. Every successful harvest brings hope to an entire community. Cities struggle the most because they produce almost none of their own food. Rural towns survive longer because food is never far away. America slowly rediscovers something it had nearly forgotten. Self-sufficiency becomes more valuable than modern convenience. 1 month without food changes the nation for generations. But the biggest lesson had nothing to do with food itself. After 30 days, the first nationwide food shipments finally resume. But restoring America's food system won't happen overnight. Warehouses slowly refill, one shipment at a time. Grocery stores receive supplies, but shelves stay mostly empty. Customers patiently accept strict purchase limits across every aisle. Every loaf of bread suddenly feels more valuable than ever before. Farmers work non-stop trying to rebuild broken supply chains. Truck drivers once again become America's most important workers. Every successful delivery brings another community back to life. Restaurants reopen slowly, serving smaller menus than before. Schools finally provide full meals to children once again. Hospitals finally receive the supplies they desperately needed. Life slowly improves, but recovery remains painfully fragile. The country survived, but millions would never forget those 30 days. America recovered, but it emerged forever changed. 30 days changed America in ways no one expected. Empty shelves were only the smallest part of the disaster. Millions discovered how fragile modern life really is. Everything depended on systems most people never even noticed. One broken supply chain affected nearly every American household. Food wasn't just another product, it connected the entire country. Without those connections, modern civilization slows almost immediately. Sometimes, the strongest systems fail in complete silence. There were no explosions, only quiet shelves becoming emptier every day. That's what made this disaster so incredibly dangerous, because most people didn't realize the danger until it was already everywhere. Recovery would take months, but trust would take even longer. America survived, because millions refused to stop helping each other. In the end, communities became stronger than supply chains, and perhaps that became America's greatest source of strength.